I'm Nancy J. with the AFA Celebrity Spotlight on location in London, England for the new movie Sherlock Holmes. Now, this is not your grandfather's Sherlock Holmes. It's not even your great-grandfather's Sherlock Holmes. In fact, this is the Sherlock Holmes of director Guy Ritchie, starring Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, Rachel McAdams, and of course, Tower Bridge in London, England. Love this movie. Absolutely. It's the Sherlock Holmes that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle would be proud of.
Well, thank you very much. I was very familiar with the Sherlock Holmes stories. They're the first stories that I was familiar with when I was a kid. So it only seemed natural that when Warner Brothers approached me that I could embark upon something that I was so familiar with.
So, Robert Downey Jr., though, is Sherlock Holmes. Did you just think of him immediately?
I didn't think of him immediately, no. But with the benefit of hindsight, looking back, it seems almost impossible to have used anyone else. Now, that was a sort of happy accident. I was working with his wife, who's a producer on another film, and Robert Downey was involved in the trailers somehow. And he and I ended up talking on the phone. At the same time, Sherlock came onto my lap. And it just sort of one thing evolved and led to another. And now it just seems impossible. I was nervous because, you know, it's tremendously hard to do the authentic English accent. And by the way, he has a much better accent than I do.
I have a request. Someone I want to see. Sherlock Holmes. Mr. Holmes, you must widen your gaze. You underestimate the gravity of coming events. Tomorrow, at midday, the world as you know it will end.
Well, there isn't any time to waste then, is there?
Tell me about this friendship between you as Sherlock Holmes.
Well, we have roommates. We have a retired soldier who's trying to start up a medical practice and have a normal life, and we have his freaky roommate who's a consulting detective. And
it's a lonely life being genius, you know, and seeing everyone for what they really are and every detail of everyone's eccentricity. And I think there's a lovely side to this and a sort of broken brilliance that Robert brings to Holmes, which emphasises that there's, you know, there's seeing the world through that and what that gives you in all its layers of fulfillment, and there's living in that world which is slightly lonely.
And I say, thank God there are people who dedicate themselves to one field solely, really isolated, specific field of expertise, because they help all of us. But so you admire their tenacity and that kind of stoic monastic lifestyle, but you wonder why would they want to do that, you know? And I don't know if Sherlock necessarily wants to do it. I think he kind of needs to do it to not go crazy.
The witness stated that he saw Lord Blackwood rise from the grave.
We want you to find him and stop him.
That'll take every ounce of my not inconsiderable experience.
This may be a hobby to you, Mr. Holmes, but I do it for a living.
It does make a considerable difference to me, having someone with me on whom I can thoroughly rely. What was nice to see, Watson? Complained about my methods before?
I never complain. When do I complain about you practicing the violin at 3 in the morning? Or your mess? Your general lack of hygiene, or the fact that you steal my clothes?
London is a character in this film.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose this was when London was at its most fertile. It was really when it was in its boom period. It was growing at a rate that it had never done in the last 2,000 years. It was when the empire, the biggest empire in history, was at its zenith, and everything industrial, scientific, and religious was blossoming in the empire. So it only seemed, well, that was another reason why I was so attracted to the environment and the narrative, is because you're right, London does play a character in itself.
Be a lady?
Holmes, does your depravity know no bounds?
No.
London is as a character. That's what's so cool about this movie.
London was a main character in the books, And I think the way Guy and the design teams brought that out is just fantastic. We always knew from the locations and the sets, but the additional work they've done since in post, it has really highlighted that. And it's an important character because it's old London disappearing and new London appearing. Yeah. It's also, that cesspool, as Conan Doyle called it, in which these two gentlemen are going out, into the back streets and the
yeah, it's pretty
cellars
sinister.
of debauchery.
Yeah, we like raw.
Watson, what have you done? You have the grand gift of silence. Watson, it makes you quite invaluable as a companion.
I love this movie. For showtimes, go to aphis.com.